So hello and welcome to Lisa Lives for another month of What I Watched, which should be called What's on Netflix That's Worth Watching or Not, because most of the stuff I watch is on Netflix. So this month is not going to be a busy one. Why is that X on my screen? Go away. This month is not going to be a busy one, so hopefully we'll get through this not too slowly for you. So there you can see on the 1st of July I watched Wrecked. You can see the photo of that beautiful man that is Adrien Brody. I will admit I watched this because Adrien Brody was in it. That's it. On Netflix at the moment, a man awakes in a car wreck at the bottom of a steep cliff. He can't remember who he is or how he got there, but a report over the radio fills in some of the blanks. It pains me to admit this was really dull. I didn't enjoy this. Adrien Brody's acting was impeccable, as it always is. He is an amazing actor. Check out The Pianist if you haven't seen it, for just a masterclass in that film is amazing. I wouldn't recommend this. I found it very dull. I watched all of it because he was in it and I love him, but I wouldn't recommend it. I give it a 2 out of 5, probably because of the acting. On the 2nd I watched 7500, which is getting really bad reviews and I don't know why. This is one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Oh, it is. So, when terrorists try to seize control of a Berlin-Paris flight, a soft-spoken young American co-pilot struggles to save the lives of the passengers and crew while forging a surprising connection with one of the hijackers. This, I have read, is very realistic when it comes down to the mechanics of the cockpit, of the checks that are done. A lot of people find it really boring because it doesn't jazz it up. It's very real. It is the checks that are going on, the chats that are going on. Pilots have actually commented on IMDb saying it was very realistic. They obviously did their homework. They obviously, looked into the proper rules and regulations and what would really happen in these situations. And I really enjoyed it. I thought I don't think it was slow. I think it was very story-based, but I found points of it really tense. I really felt for the individual. I felt that he put across, when you watch a movie and you just don't care what happens to the people in it? Well, this wasn't the case, so I keep looking down. I don't want my video recorder to switch off. It always does. I cared about what happened, and I sort of put you in both sides. Does that make sense? And you sort of get to see what the co-pilot was feeling and what one of the people on the other side, the hijackers, was feeling in his situation. I would thoroughly recommend it. I really enjoyed it. If you want something that's bells and whistles and explosions and God only knows what else, it's not for you. If you want something realistic with fantastic acting and that has some really tense, nail-biting moments, check this out. I really did enjoy it. On the 3rd, I watched 4 Kids and It. This was with my son Isaac, who wanted to see it. I myself saw the old, was it back in the 90s? I can't remember. And was it called 5 Kids in It? Again, I can't remember, but the original story. This is actually not just a modern adaptation. Well, it's not a modern adaptation, as in it's a bit different. I don't want to say how. I don't want to say how it links to the original, but it does in a way. And this follows 2 kids from a blended family. A father with 2 kids, a woman with 2 kids. They want to get together and get married, and the kids want none of it. They want their parents to be with their exes, their real mum and dad, and they're very much against it. They inexplicably bring them for a holiday to Cornwall. Russell Brand's in this as a weird eccentric, and it's really odd, big grey beard and stuff. This was rated as being awful. I don't think it was awful. I maybe don't think adults would get an awful lot from it. I do think that kids would really enjoy this. Isaac really enjoyed it. I watched it and I really don't see what people are complaining about. I read reviews that said I had to switch this off after 10 minutes. The acting was so bad. The people were so annoying. You have to look at it as a kid's film. It's not perfect. There are things that are a bit ugh, but it's for kids, and I thought it was okay. You could watch a lot worse. On the 4th, oh dear yes, I watched Anne Frank Parallel Stories. This is presented by Helen Mirren, and it quite simply is what it says on the tin. It's people that lived at the same time as Anne Frank, and it's their stories and how they feel about the Anne Frank story. And it's very harrowing, and it presents people's true stories. I have always felt really, the Holocaust really gets to me in a big way, what people went through, what they were put through. I've always had a massive issue with understanding how such massive swathes of people were capable of carrying out these atrocities. And I know people say, well, if they didn't do it, they would die. But could I take part in the death and murder of all these people and children and women? And could I? I don't think so. I struggle with it in a big way, and it was very emotional for me to watch, very moving. It's when you get to hear more about Anne Frank and what just a wonderful girl she was and how intelligent she was, and when you read sections of her diary are read by Helen Mirren throughout the programme, throughout the documentary, and you remember how young she was. It's just, it just beggars belief. It's extremely interesting if you're interested in that side of history. It's well worth checking out, and that is on Netflix at the moment. Yeah, thoroughly recommend. It is a sad watch though, obviously. On the 5th, I watched Midnight in Paris. I was really surprised by this. I'd avoided this because I just didn't think it would. I thought it was your typical rom-com, and I'm not a big fan of rom-coms. I do like some really capture me, but some no. So I love that picture of Owen Wilson with Starry Night behind him, but when I watched this, I loved this, and I don't want to tell you too much about it. All I'm going to tell you is watch this. It's got Owen Wilson in. That's a thumbs up for me as far as when we start. That guy's voice. I wonder, does he do audiobooks? I just want to sleep. It's so relaxing. Anyway, so it says here, a romantic comedy about a family travelling to the French capital for business. The party includes a young engaged couple forced to confront the illusion that a life different from their own is better. So indeed, Owen Wilson travels with his fiancée and her parents, who are just horrible, and the realisation when they're there that they're perhaps not right for one another rears its ugly head, but in a very strange way. And the only thing I'm going to say is time travel is involved, and it's a bit different, and I loved it. I would really recommend it. Midnight in Paris. I can't tell you any more because it will spoil it for you, but check it out. Next, Daylight. Yes, I saw this movie back when it was released, 96, and we put it on one afternoon because I thought, is it a 15? Flip it out. Sorry about that, I'm wrecking the place. My foot's gone to sleep. I tried to move it and I kicked the ring light. Sylvester Stallone, of course, the action man. I love this movie. This is a movie about someone that has been in the police force, is no longer in the police force, who finds himself driving a cab underneath a massive tunnel. I don't want to give you too much information. Everyone's probably seen this. There's a massive disaster that happens in that tunnel, and he finds himself instrumental in trying to get out with a group of people. Think the Poseidon Adventure on Earth, on land. I love all that sort of thing. People battling against disasters and the odds and things. And Isaac enjoyed it. I knew he would. So yeah, we're saying he's obsessed with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He loves him. We're like, this is like The Rock for us when we were younger. And he liked it. He enjoyed it. If you've not seen Daylight, check it out. It's really good. 1996, eh? On the same day, oh yes, Say Her Name, The Life and Death of Sandra Bland. You probably will know this one. It was very famous as there was a rumour circulating that a mugshot that was taken of Sandra when she was arrested by the police, she was actually dead in the mugshot. People said you could tell from the positioning of her hair and the shadows. That's been disputed back and forth. I'm not here to talk about whether the picture was or wasn't, but this is a story about a young black activist who, very energetic, full of life, vivacious, who's pulled over one day by a police officer for a traffic stop, and she follows all the rules. During the Black Lives Matter, I'm sort of like coming away from this subject at the moment, but something I'm very struck by and trying to teach Isaac, and just has only been made knowledge of it, aware to me over the past year or so, which is ridiculous. It shouldn't be, but the fact that young black people have to be taught of the right way to deal with the police on a traffic stop. You must ask if you can reach inside your glove box or your jacket, even if they've asked you to provide a driving licence. You can't just go like that, because they can shoot you and say they thought you were going for a gun. You have to say, may I do this? And to me, that's just ridiculous. But the way that black people tend to be treated differently in that scenario. And anyway, Sandra was pulled over for nothing and was dealt with by a white police officer in not too nice a manner, and she got quite irate. She wasn't aggressive, she didn't swear, none of that stuff. He kept trying to get her to get out of the car, to put her cigarette out, and she did put her cigarette out, and he was just trying to get her to do things that he shouldn't be, and he was going against rules. And there's a whole, I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of this case, but the upshot is he ends up dragging her out of the car. He says that she hit him, but from the dash cam footage of his car, it very much looks like that he lashed out at her. But he's very, very rough and aggressive with her. He has her handcuffed. Remember, this is all from a traffic stop, and all she's done wrong is get a bit peeved at him. And the upshot is that she goes back to the prison and she ends up passing away in her cell. The prisoners there are supposed to be checked on every so often, but it appears that she went for a very long period of time without being checked on. And they say that she hung herself. Now, this woman had done nothing to give this impression, to give the fact she was suicidal, that, you know, basically there was a massive cover-up. A lot of people feel she did kill herself. A lot of people feel she didn't kill herself. This is the documentary about everything that happened. And I think it's very unlikely that she killed herself. That's my viewpoint. I'll also say there were no fingerprints found on the object that she hung herself with. Not even hers. How's that possible? So, yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies. I won't go into it because the documentary is very interesting to watch. I watched that on Now TV. I think it was probably from Sky. So, yeah, check that out. On the 6th, I watched The F-It List. I just felt like something easy. Sometimes I feel like these type of movies. This is about a young lad that decides he's going to write a list called the F-It List. And it's basically going to be everything that he's ever wanted to do and hasn't done because conformity or rules or whatever. And he starts just a craze among people on the internet, and everyone just jumps on this idea, and he goes from loser to hero overnight. And that's the basic premise of that. And it was alright, wasn't great. I like the concept, but it wasn't very practical. On the 7th, I watched Beelzebub. This was a horror. I've given it a 3. Yes, okay. So, while leading a police investigation of a massacre in a public school at the border of Mexico and USA, Special Agent Emmanuel Ritter links this strange case to the coming and rising of the ancient demon Beelzebub. I like this. A lot of this is in Spanish. Unfortunately, I couldn't get subtitles to work on this. So a lot of what happened, I speak a bit of Spanish, so I got the basic gist. There's a lot of English in it also because there's like an American-Spanish crossover. It mixes crime and the paranormal. I enjoyed it. It's sort of possession-y type thing. I liked how it ended. I enjoyed it. I don't take it too seriously, but I thought it was good. I liked it. I would recommend that for horror fans. Beelzebub. Where are we? Session 9. I watched this many years ago. People rant and rave about this movie as being excellent. And I remember years ago watching it and thinking, that was a bit boring. But after hearing loads of people rant and rave about it, it's the same about Pulp Fiction. Everyone says it's amazing. I watched it, I left the cinema early. I've made myself rewatch it twice and I still don't like it. There are scenes I really like. There are little bits I think are just amazing. I love Quentin Tarantino. I just can't get on with Pulp Fiction. I gave this another go because of what everyone was saying, and it bored me to tears the second time as well. It's about a crew of people that are clearing an old building, mental hospital, abandoned, of asbestos and weird things keep happening. It wasn't for me. I found it boring. On the 11th I watched... No, I didn't. On the 11th I started to watch The Old Guard. I got half an hour in and lost the will to live. My husband watched it all. It was on in the background. He got to the end and he was like, "Nah." You know, it was alright. It just needed to be dealt with completely differently. The idea was good. It's on Netflix. Let me tell you what it's about. Led by a warrior, a covert group of tight-knit mercenaries with a mysterious inability to die have fought to protect the mortal world for centuries. I think then they discover that there's another one of them they didn't know about, and that's basically the premise. Sounds good. In my opinion, wasn't. But I know a lot of other people enjoyed this, so don't take my word for that. On the 12th, I watched The Most Hated Woman in America. What was this? Oh, yes. Right, this is the true story. It's a drama. It's about a lady called Madeleine Murray O'Hare. She must be Irish, O'Hare. She basically is a very outspoken atheist who... Basically, she didn't like the fact her kids had to pray in school and at morning assembly or whatever, I think having to say under God and all that sort of thing. And she fought the system to have that removed and for her kids to not have to do it. And in a very God-fearing part of America, it didn't go down very well. This is basically her story, and she becomes infamous. She becomes very well known, and her and two of her kids actually end up being kidnapped for ransom. This is true. This is a true story, and this is about what happened to her. So yeah, 2.5 I gave it. I thought it was really... My foot is so asleep. But the execution I felt was a bit poor in that it drifted into being really dull quite a few times. On the 13th I watched Desperados. Oh god, yeah. This is about a young woman who is just... She's got verbal diarrhea. She says what she thinks that's out of her mouth, and then it's like, She's looking for the perfect man. She meets this guy, thinks he's the perfect man. She becomes obsessed with keeping him because everyone she knows is getting married. But he doesn't call her after a certain amount of days. So she sends, when she's drunk, a rather nasty, very nasty email helped by her two drunk friends. But then she finds out the next day that he has had a serious accident and is in hospital, and it's why he hasn't called her. He is in Spain, I think it was Spain, and she ends up having to go there with her friends to try to delete the email from his laptop and phone, which are at the hotel, before he's released from hospital to read them. That's what it's about. And even though the more she finds out about this guy, he's not the nicest of people, they're not suitable, she has got in her head that they are right for one another, and she is going to do anything to make it work. I will say what happens in the end is intensely predictable. You will get what happens probably 15-20 minutes into the film. Would not recommend. 2.5. It's alright. It's alright for that kind of film. Detectives. Yeah, this was okay. A team of reality TV paranormal investigators go to Mexico's most haunted house in the pursuit of better ratings. These are guys that are pretending. They've got all this stuff set up to make things happen that isn't really happening, but then they go to a real place and stuff does happen for real. This is a cross between horror and comedy, and it did work well. I enjoyed it. It's not on the same level as Shaun of the Dead, but it's entertaining and it's quite funny, so I would recommend that one. Detectives. We're getting there, folks. On the same night it was on the telly, I found myself watching it again even though I've seen it several times. Buried, with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, who can do no wrong. So he is a US truck driver. He is working in Iraq. He is kidnapped and he is buried in a coffin. Does it say how far down? He's buried alive in a coffin. He's got a lighter and a cell phone. And the whole film is based inside this coffin. And he is trying to get people to work out where he is. He doesn't even know where he is. To get out before air runs out, before he dies. I love this film. The acting's sublime. I will say I adore the ending. I think the ending is fantastic. If you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, highly recommend Buried if you hadn't seen it. Next one's a weird one. Swallow. This is a story about a young woman that has married a very rich man with very rich parents, and she becomes obsessed by swallowing objects. This is apparently a thing. She starts, I think, with a marble, and she progressively moves up. She passes all these items through, and she has a good little glass tray in her bedroom, and every item that successfully passes through she polishes and she puts on this little glass tray. And you see the items get larger in size, and some of them, you know, there's like a porcelain figure, and she's swallowing dangerous things. And then she gets pregnant, but she's still doing it. And obviously she's putting her home life and her unborn child's life at risk. And it's about her husband and his parents, and they're trying to control what she's doing, and her trying to beat this thing she's also doing. And it says she must confront the dark secret behind her new obsession. I didn't like it. I thought it would be more than it was. I thought there would be more behind it than there was. So I will say the acting's really good. The cinematography is really good. You know, you don't watch it and go, oh my god, that acting's lousy, but it just didn't go anywhere. We've only got 3 left. 2 on the 20th. We Summon the Darkness. This has got such bad reviews, but I know horror fans will really like this. I really like this because this was set in the 80s. The sort of like throwback for it was a rock concert. Every character in this, if you're a rock fan and you've grown up with rock, you will know someone just like that. They had all the like stereotypes about the jacket with the patches and the cuffs with the spikes and the belts, like you name it, all the stereotypes are in here, and they're also true because I was one once. And there is a killer on the loose killing groups of people at this time. This group of girls meet this group of guys at a gig. They all go back to a house together to party, and stuff kicks off. That's all I'm going to say. It's a slasher type movie. I just really enjoyed it. If you're a rock fan and a horror fan, check this out. We Summon the Darkness. It's not going to win any Oscars or anything like that, but it's fun. Same Night, Ordinary Love. Oh, this is... Right, most people won't like this. People like, I think, Kermit's Ghost. Alan, I think you'll probably really like this. This is just a story of an ordinary couple. Liam Neeson's in it, which is why I watched it. I've said this 100 times over. He went to school with my parents. I knew his mum, who passed, unfortunately, very recently. Lovely lady. I watch everything Liam Neeson's in. This is a story of a normal middle-aged couple, and the wife is diagnosed with breast cancer. And this just follows normal reactions, the normal dynamic of the relationship changing, how he tries to deal with things and how that's not the right way to deal with things and how that's not what she needs. And it seems very real to me. My mum actually had breast cancer, and the dynamic of things, just the acting's impeccable, and the relationship feels completely real. The lady, who's the lady that plays his wife? Leslie Manville. I love the fact that she's a similar age to Liam. I actually googled it because I thought, hang on, we've got a film with a woman that looks the same age as the man. She's not 20 years younger, what the hell's going on? And I think she was like 3 or 4 years younger than him. So we actually got a real woman, a real age, you know, like realistic, in a lead role in a movie, and I loved that. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was very sad. I thought it was very heartfelt. I loved the normalness of it. If you like to watch fantastic acting and just a normal story being put across, check it out. It's really good. It won't be for people that want to sit down and be entertained and want to be taken on a roller coaster ride. It won't be for you, but Ordinary Love it's called, and it's a perfect title. And the last movie I watched this month was on the 21st, and it was called Witches in the Woods. Let me remind myself. Right, yeah. Let me just switch. Actually, I'll let it run out by itself. A group of students go in a 4x4 to the woods. There's snow on the ground. It's very clearly a bad idea. You can see it's a very bad idea. They go anyway. And they hit all the stereotypes. They stop at a little, you know the way there's always like a gas station or a shop in the middle of nowhere, and there's always a weirdo warning them, don't go, you know, it's like that, and there is one. And the car can't go any further, I'm not going into detail about it, and stuff starts to happen. Obviously, you've got a slashery, weirdy type movie and there's snow. It's obviously the perfect backdrop for blood, isn't it? It was alright, actually. The special effects I really liked, I really enjoyed. I wasn't a big fan of the conclusion of the movie. The acting was all fine, the characters were a bit typical. So it's your typical teenage, beautiful, all of that stuff, but it's worth it watching it for some of the special effects and some of the imagination used therein. So yeah, that is what I've watched in July. Have you seen anything that you think I should check out? Let me know below in the comments. I've been spending a lot of time editing my Disney videos, my Florida trip. They're over on my other channel, Kit and Caboodle, which I will try to remember to link in the description. If I don't, it's over on the side of my profile under featured channels. I've put it on there. But I'm uploading all my stuff, visits to the park and stuff, so if you want to see it, it's there for you to see. But yeah, thank you for watching. Let me know if there's anything I should check out, and I will speak to you next month. Over and out from Lisa Lives.